Hello, I'm Ted Smith, and welcome back to our game tonight at Aquinas College as they face off against their rivals of Cornerstone. If you're just tuning in, we are in the fourth set with Aquinas in the lead, 2 sets, and Cornerstone at 1. We're just coming back from a timeout as the score is close with AQ leading 22 and Cornerstone at 19.
Here's a replay of the last set before an Aquinas timeout. Their middle, Grace Martin, went up for a spike, and when she landed, it looked like she was in some pain grabbing that right shoulder. They're going to sub her out to see the trainer. Hopefully we'll get some insight on whether she'll be returning or not tonight.
It starts in the front of my shoulder, and it goes down to my elbow, and then it explodes when I move it.
Do you something going up and down?
Yeah, as I go up.
How about rotating the shoulder?
Yes.
Alright, so it looks like it's going to be one of your rotator cuff muscles. We'll have to take a look to see what muscle it is. I'll be at that. Hello, Coach. Congrats on the win. It was a close game, but your team was able to power through. Do you have any thoughts about tonight's game?
It was a great game, and the team played very well. We were able to battle through the match and come out with a win.
Unfortunately, you had lost one of your key players. Do you have any insight into that for us?
I guess unfortunately, one of our players suffered an injury during our third set today. Trainers believe that maybe a rotator cuff injury, but we'll have more information on that which they've come. I hope she gets better and has speedy recovery. I'm also very proud of our other players for stepping up and pulling off a win.
Tired of soreness and pain during your activity?
Ever wish you had something that could get rid of it, prevent you from getting injured, and rehydrate you?
Try our new coffee sports drink. This product is the best of both worlds. This drink provides needed energy, but also helps rehydrate.
Another great bonus of this drink is that it helps strengthen and repair muscles with every gulp.
This isn't like your typical sport drink because it helps boost athletes' energy while providing hydrating electrolytes.
This drink uses new, never-before-seen science. We have been able to take the average coffee bean and infuse it with 10 times more electrolytes.
This drink has about 50 grams more protein than our competitors. Along with this, we have found a way to modify these proteins to have super healing powers. Drinking this drink will help speed up recovery time and help build those muscles.
Buy Kinetic Coffee in stores or online today.
Hello, Dr. Collins here to report the readings of Grace Martin's MRI results. Well, Coach Wacko and trainer Joseph Tompkins, the good news is there are no signs of anything being torn or broken in her rotator cuff. But she does seem to be experiencing some rotator cuff tendinopathy, which means that the tendons connecting the muscles right behind her shoulder are experiencing an overload and repetitive force that cannot be handled. We saw this in the MRI, specifically in the supraspinatus tendon, so we're looking at 6 to 7 weeks of no volleyball training or competition.
Alright, I'll start writing up a program for rehabilitation. What muscle actions need to be avoided for rotator cuff tendons to heal properly?
They're definitely going to have to avoid abduction of the arm for this to heal in time.
Alright, got it. Thank you. Dr. Collins.
Yeah, you bet. Let me know if you have any other questions.
I do. Is there anything we could do to reduce the time of no movement a little more? The Nationals tournament is in less than 2 months.
I'm sure this is hard to accept, but this is the type of injury that will only get worse and take longer to heal if movement occurs too soon, especially if that tendon takes part in any force generation and torque.
This is ridiculous.
Hello, my name is Mike Jones, and I'm here with Jesse Smith, a physical therapist that specializes in shoulder injuries.
Hello, Mike. How are you today?
I'm well. I wanted to discuss rotator cuff injuries that many volleyball players unfortunately suffer from. I am here today to get some insight into what the rehab process may be like for athletes that may be experiencing rotator cuff injuries similar to Grace Martin's.
Yes, rotator cuff injuries can occur in any 4 of these muscles: the supraspinatus, infraspinatus, subscapularis, or the teres minor. These injuries often occur from overuse or repetitive over-the-head movements.
What is the typical treatment for athletes that have experienced an injury or to these muscles?
Some athletes require surgery and then physical therapy, but then others just need physical therapy to manage the pain and strengthen these muscles. With proper treatment, athletes can return to play as they once were.
That's great. What does physical therapy focus on when helping the athlete in the recovery process?
Physical therapists will work with athletes to increase their range of motion, strengthen the muscles, and improve their stability. For example, exercises using resistance bands can help strengthen these muscles and improve both dynamic and static stability.
How long is the typical rehabilitation process for these injuries that an athlete would need to go through before returning to play?
Great question. The typical rehab process can be anywhere from 4.5 to 14 months. This just depends on the severity of the injury and whether or not the athlete needs surgery to return.
Perfect. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
The motion of the arm during a spike in volleyball we call a third-class lever, which is usually an equal reaction of force being produced from the shoulder and the resistance against the arm. But our arms come in many different lengths and sizes, which can have a major impact on which will be greater, the force or resistance. Where, in this case, Grace might have a greater force than resistance, making her more susceptible to this type of injury. So we're going to work on strengthening our backside shoulder muscles to help support that constant arm rotation that generates a lot of force from the front side shoulder muscles, putting a ton of torque on that backside of the shoulder muscles.
How is the progress looking with the rebuilding the muscle now that we're a few weeks out from the injury?
As of right now, she's looking fantastic. We've been working on her shoulder mobility with band work as well as strengthening the muscles with some dumbbell work that we showed previously. With injuries like this, it is key to strengthen the rotator cuff muscles to prevent further injury in the future.
That sounds great. As you mentioned, you guys are working on prevention for the future. What could she have done before the injury to possibly prevent this from happening?
That's a great question, especially with volleyball players. Proper warm-up is very crucial with injury prevention. But besides warming up, band work is very helpful. Volleyball players, when it comes to injury prevention, are working on that external rotation with the resistance band can help warm up their shoulders, prepare them for practice or game.
That sounds like it could help a lot. What kind of exercises should they do?
I'd highly recommend doing a lot sort of raises with the resistance bands and light dumbbell work. The exercises listed before, but make sure you're not overworking your muscles or lifting too heavy a weight. You don't want to pull or injure yourself. That's what we're trying to avoid.
Perfect. Well, thank you for your advice and the time today.
Yeah, of course. For the information helps.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Danford, and I'm part of the International Society of Biomechanics. I'm here with head coach Wako, the Aquinas women's volleyball team, and our sports medicine Dr. Collins to talk about an unfortunate mishap on the volleyball court in this week's game against Cornerstone. Coach Wako, would you like to give us a recap on what happened in this last game?
To be quite honest, I do not, but for the sake of this interview, I will. Our starting middle went up for a spike, and right away, anyone watching that motion knew she was hurting somewhere. She came straight down, grabbing her arm, and you could see her facial expressions indicating some pretty bad day.
Yeah, that was a bummer to see. So, Dr. Collins, could you walk us through where exactly this injury occurred and how?
Yeah, we found out she strained her rotator cuff muscles and stressed the tendon of which we call the supraspinatus within the shoulder. This is a common injury that can happen with volleyball players as they produce a great amount of force on the ball and at the same time they're constantly rotating their arm at the shoulder. Thanks to these joints, we're able to have that rotation, but with this motion, it can lead to some tearing. And when it gets pinched in this tiny space between the top of the bone within the shoulder and this long bone that we call the clavicle. Another reason this could happen is because of the amount of force produced from the front side of the shoulder with the deltoids. The back side of the muscle, like the supraspinatus, may be a bit weaker, and they just cannot handle the force leading to more stress on these tendons connecting to that muscle. And these repetitive force can tear those muscles and or tendons if the threshold point is reached. So we're glad that we did not see any tears in our rotator cuff, giving us a chance to prevent that injury from happening again when she plays.
Wow, that was a lot of information. What are some preventative measures that you would like to see athletes take to avoid injuries like these?
All athletes that have a repetitive strain on their shoulders in their sports should have some sort of a strength training program and a warm-up plan. A strength training program should focus on the eccentric exercises and movements. This is important because oftentimes with repetitive movements like hitting in volleyball, the concentrically activated internal rotator muscles increase in strength, while the eccentrically activated external muscles do not increase at the same rate. So focusing on strengthening eccentrically is more important to have the muscles be more proportionate in strength, which will lower the risk of injury.
This is good to know. For the future, for my players, I'll definitely mention that warming up being so important, and how I can better implement warm-ups to keep my athletes as healthy as I possibly can.
Yeah, for athletes that play sports that put a lot of strain on their upper body, it should be important to implement a shoulder mobility program that helps warm up the rotator cuff muscles before events. Recently, studies have found that for volleyball players especially, that the volley bi-leg approach is a great warm-up for their bodies before playing. This approach focuses on core stability, plyometric, balance training, and volleyball-specific exercises. This includes external rotation exercises with resistant bands to strengthen shoulder muscles. This warm-up helps to target and effectively warm up areas of the body and often are having injuries. Proper warm-ups like this helps decrease the risk of injury.
All right, I'll be sure to keep that in mind for the future. Dr. Danford, since you have experience in biomechanics, what is your perspective on why these injuries occur?
I sure can. Attackers in volleyball often generate torque as in their arms around the axis of their shoulder. This creates angular velocity. Looking at attacking from a lever system perspective, a volleyball attack is a third-class system, which means that the force is between the axis of the rotation and the resistance.
Interesting. How may this impact injury in this action?
Like Dr. Collins said earlier, differences in the strength of muscle can cause injury to the athlete. This is due to uneven forces being applied to muscles, which sometimes puts on too much stress, leading to injury. Additionally, the movement of the arm leads to the dynamic friction of the muscles along the head of the humerus and under the acromion of the scapula. The image shown highlights where on the body of the muscles may experience friction. Dynamic friction is when the contacting surface of two moving objects creates a restrictive force that poses the continuation of the motion. So if there's too much friction to the rotator muscle, this can lead to injuries like inflammation or tears. This often occurs then overuse or improper form.
Okay, this has been a great discussion and helping understand how I can help protect and prevent injury with my athletes.
Good. I hope this information was helpful to both of you and the viewers.
Yes, I hope everyone watching was able to take a piece of useful information for later. Thanks for tuning in with Coach Watko and Dr. Collins and I tonight, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Congrats on all the hard work over the last few weeks. It takes a lot of work to rehab an injury like that.
Thank you so much. It was a lot of hard work, and it took a lot of perseverance to get through all the tough battles. I just wanted to thank all the coaches and staff that have helped me and given me the resources to heal properly and get back to 100%.
Yeah, just looking at it from an outside perspective, it looks like a lot of hard work. Since going through the injury process and rehab process with your shoulder, do you have any advice for other volleyball players and other athletes when it comes to shoulder health?
I would highly recommend working with a resistance band. Not only does it help with proper rotation, with resistance, and it can also help build muscle mobility in the shoulder and could be used for warming up before sporting events.
That sounds great. I'm glad you were able to take your time with the injury and you were able to get back into action. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
here with Coach Wacko. Since we've had a chance to talk with the player, let's have a chat with who helped her along the way. Coach Wacko, thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you for having me today.
Coach, what are your thoughts on Grace's healing process?
Grace has come such a long way. We're working with all of our medical staff, put in the work to get her back on the court as fast as possible, taking proper steps in the healing process. But I have been in talks with all the staffs as she works with them, and I have heard nothing but great things about her injury, how her injury was going. And I was excited to get her back on the court.
That is great news. An injury like that might not seem like such a big deal, but if you don't take the right steps to heal in those few weeks, especially in the first few weeks, especially, it will be rough to make that abduction motion with your shoulder and could lead to possible problems with the muscles in the future.
Yeah, she's been a lot more patient than I have. That's for sure.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine the stress on you. Well, thank you for your time, and I'm glad she's back on the court. Well, that's it for tonight, folks. Thank you for joining in the broadcast, and I hope to see you in the next one.